sometimes it's really hard to receive critical feedback if you're not in a place mentally or emotionally to hear it. So I think ego plays a large role, and just knowing that we're in the business of education and nobody is there. Like all of us are on a journey, and the journey is never over, and that we're always striving to better ourselves, better our practice, and do the best for the kids.
Welcome to the Modern Classrooms Project podcast. Each week, we bring you discussions with educators on how they use blended, self-paced, and mastery-based learning to better serve their students. We believe teachers learn best from each other, so this is our way of lifting up the voices of leaders and innovators in our community. This is the Modern Classrooms Project podcast.
Hey y'all, it's Tony Rose, Deanna, they, them pronouns, the designated hype person here at Modern Classrooms, and I am joined today by two high school math co-teachers, Liz Khinda, she, her pronouns, and Amber Fletcher, she, her pronouns. Welcome, you two. I love it. I love it so much when I'm in the space with teachers, so thank you again for being here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We're so excited.
And, I got to meet y'all in person during the summer training, and y'all been working really hard with your coach, with your mentor, Kim, as well. And Kim talks so highly of you both. And so I'm excited to continue elevating your stories and just to be in this space with you to get all of those expertise and stories that you have. So thank you so much for saying yes to the podcast. And before we get started, what is bringing you joy currently?
The end of the school year. The end of the school year is close. That is bringing lots of joy. I think we have 52 days left. So that sounds amazing for me.
Yeah, and the warmer weather, seeing grass and the flowers, spring in bloom. This week we had, it was mid-80s yesterday. I went to a pool after school. So that is it's a fun thing, the season changing.
All right, New York City on the come up from the winter time. So that is really exciting. 52 days. I bet there's not a countdown happening. All right, y'all. Well, tell us a little bit more about who you are and how you started your MCP journey.
Well, I am Liz Khinda, and I grew up in New York City, and I live in the Bronx now. And I've been teaching for 18 years. And I started my MCP journey 2 years ago on recommendation from one of our former colleagues, Sonia Burke. So she did your training, and she ranted and raved about it. And then she forwarded the information to Amber and I, and basically begged us to do the training. She said it would change the way we approach teaching, and it did.
My name is Amber Fletcher. I have been teaching for 11 years. My family is from the Caribbean. I'm first gen American. Very exciting. I live in Brooklyn, and I've lived in Brooklyn for the vast majority of my life in the exact same house, actually. And then, our MCP journey is exactly as Liz said. Our colleague, Ms. Burke, recommended that we get started. And we did the online training. Honestly, for me, the online training didn't do it. It was not until the summer in-person training that really made a big difference. And honestly, I don't think we would have been able to dive in without the summer training. So that was really pivotal for us.
Ooh, I love that so much. And when you say Miss Burke, is it Sonia Burke?
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, y'all. I love Miss Sonia, okay? She is a whole vibe out here. She comes with the best hats. So I love...
Yes. Oh my God,
really
yes.
do know her.
Yes. We bought her one of those hats when she left our school, where I think it was her big retirement or something from our school. And we bought her one of those hats. So I don't know if you've seen it, but it's in the mix.
Literally every time she comes up on the webinar for any of the virtual events that we have, or if we have one-on-one calls, she always has a different hat.
Yes.
And I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Miss Sonia Burke out here. I gotta let her know. She's such a vibe. So, okay. Well, did you both go through the same, did you go through the training at the same time? Both the VMP, the virtual mentorship program, and then the summer training?
Yes, both. Yes.
Okay. And then how was that for both of y'all? Because I know, Amber, you had said the VMP was great. it was okay. But like, I really, really loved the summer training. So when y'all were doing the VMP together and the summer training together, what kind of conversations were you having? What kind of ideas were popping up for you? And how did it make a difference having both of you do it at the same time?
I think that it did. And to piggyback off of what Amber said, as we're talking about it more, now the VMP training was a little bit more dry. It is really important to have an in-person component. And I think it became alive because the MCP, when we were working with our curriculum, it was very different. And like, you guys have created curriculum for IM, which is what we're using, and it makes it that much more accessible for our students and for us. So the VMP training we did, and we discussed, but it was like we were working kind of like on our own. We were working on our own on our laptops, and we would say, hey, did you do this? Did you do this? How was your coaching call? How was your coaching call? What did you get on this part? What did I get? But it wasn't as fused as it is now with the math partnership.
I will also say that we were at a different time in our careers. When we did the VMP, Liz was just coming back from maternity leave. So we were thinking like, because we did it at the end of the school year. So we knew we would be together the next year when she came back fully. But it was still theoretical. And like she said, we were trying to use IM because that was us trying to like start using IM. Like that was our segue. And I found it difficult to imagine how MCP would work with IM. Like I couldn't see it. I had a really hard time visualizing it. It did seem very daunting and overwhelming. But I'm glad that I did the virtual training prior to the summer so that I had an idea of like what it was like. And, like I was familiar because I think that also made a difference. And then in the summer, we had already been teaching. She'd been back for 2 years at that point, maybe a year, 2 years. And we had already been teaching together at that point. We knew we'd be teaching together the following year. And at the end of that, when we heard about the summer training, we're like, okay, so we know we're going to start thinking about it in August and like prepare that way. So it was a different framing as well. So I think it was all the parts together.
I think it is really important for whichever teachers are interested in jumping on board with MCP to do the VMP first, because we had a leg up on the teachers that were in the trainings, the in-person trainings, because we had access that they didn't have. And that made that content more accessible to us, and we could participate differently. And it was very helpful.
Yeah, so it's pretty much like good foundation work, right? Like if we're talking about self-pacing, blended, and mastery-based learning, like that whole self-directed piece and having to learn on your own is good to know. And I see that there are some challenges of like, I would have really liked some interaction. I would have really liked like more in person. So thank you both for that. That is like a realistic view from both of you. So I appreciate that. And so now I'm curious, like co-teaching, right? We have lots of challenges and also celebrations when it comes to co-teaching. So I'm curious, tell us a little bit more about your schedule. How does planning look for you? What does co-teaching look like for you when you're implementing the model and even prior to implementing the model?
I think we have a very special co-teaching relationship. I've been in the field for 20 years, but I've been teaching for 18, and I've had many co-teachers, and Amber, by and large, is by far, I've had the strongest working relationship with her. She is so determined, and she's so hardworking, and she's so dedicated, like across the board and in everything she does. She's so thoughtful and pours dedication into everything she does. She's so purposeful. And so because she brings that energy, everything like everything she touched turns to gold, really. And it's hard to find somebody that is that hardworking for so long in this field, that brings that energy every day. She is the teacher that is always going to make calls home. She is a teacher that's going to be sending emails. She's going to be the teacher that's going to do student check-in. She's going to be the teacher that regularly does student small groups. So the co-teaching has been phenomenal with her because she brings such dedication and purpose to her work.
And I also have been teaching a while, and I also have taught with many, many people. And I think with Liz, the difference is like she's willing to allow you to teach with her. Like I feel like I'm the special education teacher. As a special education teacher, sometimes people are kind of like, this is my show, and you're kind of like a background character. And they kind of do, and I'm like, I do want to do 50-50. I do want to like show up as authentically as you are. Like, I do want to like fully engage myself in teaching. And someone has to let you do that, right? Like someone has to like be okay with working collaboratively, truly. Like that definitely has to be the goal. And they also have to be okay with taking a risk, and they also have to trust you, and they also have to know that you're capable. And those things are like, found
You sure
very
are capable. You
far
sure
few
are
in between,
capable.
so.
I love that you both are basically hyping each other up and just sharing like all the strengths, like really asset-based thinking out here, right? And so as I listen to you both talk, there's so much respect for each other. And I think that is really important, right? Like I respect you as a human being, and I respect you as a professional. So like as quote unquote the gen ed teacher, you take a step back and really share that 50-50, right? And so I appreciate this so much. And I think the communication piece as well is really important. And I think you both value the communication piece. And I know that you didn't say this, but what I'm also gathering is that there's a lot of like, you both divide things up equally, right? Or if like one person can't do it, then another person will take up and do it. And there, again, it's just so much respect and so much love. Like, and both of y'all kind of like were glowing talking about each other. And that is such a beautiful, beautiful thing. There's like this synergy, there's this energy that is between you. And I think, again, that is a very special relationship because like y'all both said, teachers out here do have co-teachers that don't mesh well, or like there's like not a lot of expectations, or not meeting guidelines. There's the relationship piece is not there. And I think this also reminds me the importance of relationships, not just with students, but also your colleagues, to ensure that y'all are all on the same page and that there's that level of respect and trust when it comes to leaning in and leaning on each other's expertise and experiences. So this is amazing. And so now I think like as an educator who's had some interesting co-teaching relationships, how have y'all navigated times when you haven't seen eye to eye? How does that look? How does that sound?
I mean, I can't really recall a time we haven't seen eye to eye. But when there have been other teachers that I've worked with that I haven't really seen eye to eye with, I think it depends on the way that it was handled. Like, as long as there's no disrespect there, I feel like if what they're suggesting is in the best interest of the children, then you take a step back and you agree with it and you go with it. Sometimes it's really hard to receive critical feedback if you're not in a place mentally or emotionally to hear it. So I think ego plays a large role, and just knowing that we're in the business of education and nobody is there. Like all of us are on a journey, and the journey is never over, and that we're always striving to better ourselves, better our practice, and do the best for the kids. And so Amber will say to me, oh, this is what we need to do. And if she sees something in that way that I didn't see, okay, she's the boss. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how it goes. That's how it's gone for me. Like, I think the only time when there's a struggle is if there's ego or resistance to change, and change can be really hard.
But I think even if we both suggest a different idea, we will just talk about it until we come to a consensus. Like let's say she's like, oh, I think we should do this. And I'm like, but I think we should do this. Well, maybe we might not reach a conclusion like right at that moment. Maybe it's just like, all right, well, let's see. And then later on in the day, I might be like, oh, okay, so I was thinking about this, and this is why I was thinking about that. But I could see why you were thinking that. Maybe we can come up with this. You know what I mean? So like we do like kind of just like
circle back.
Yeah, like, until we figure it out. So there's no like set approach where it's like, oh, we don't come up with the same idea. We disagree with something. Let's do this. It's just kind of like, well, okay, I see your thinking. And then maybe she'll be like, oh, okay, I like your thought process more. Or maybe I'll be like, I like your thought process more. Or maybe we're like, oh, we can find a middle ground. I don't know. So,
or sometimes when we have those conversations, another idea.
Yeah, exactly. Something completely different that we didn't even think of like at all comes about.
I like the piece that y'all said of like being receptive, right? Being open and being curious and having those conversations of like not shutting each other down, but like, yes, and right? Let's think about this. Let's think about that. And then also being open to new ideas coming up. I think the emotional intelligence piece is really important, right? And I think that's a lot of inner work on us as human beings to be like, okay, I can't allow my pride and my ego to show up because I am working really closely with another adult to have better student outcomes, right? Because ultimately, I feel like all teachers really want what's best for their students, right? And so I think both of you kind of keep that in, that is your priority of like, how do we make sure that our students are getting the best outcomes for them, and not necessarily taking anything personal or anything like that, right? So I really, really, really love that. This is just so beautiful. So talk to us about your planning. How does that look?
I mean, you guys have done such a good job. We don't really have to do that much, honestly. I mean, shameful to say, but you have done such an amazing job. We were really worried, honestly, that we were going to have to do like an exorbitant amount of work. And then once we got our course companions and then we were tinkering with it and we saw everything that was there, all the resources, there's not much for us to do in ways of planning. What we do is we click on all the resources, we print them out, we create packets for our students. Amber came up with the idea of having a cover sheet on it so that it would be easier for us to organize. We print them for the kids so that they have them fit in like a physical form. And then we copy and paste the links onto our Google Classroom because what is that thing called? Chalkful doesn't work. Yeah. But either way, there's not much in terms of planning because you guys have done everything for us and we really appreciate that. Like you even have warm-up slides. It's like wild. So that has been very helpful.
I think we do like when we're thinking about like, because we don't use all the inquiries, we don't use all the warm-ups, you know what I mean? So like there is some thinking around that piece of like what is the better target, like what better targets would I want the kids to take away from this? And so that may mean someday I do the warm-up and someday I do the inquiry, or some days I cut the warm-up and I only do, you know what I mean? So like it definitely does. Like we're not recreating anything, but we definitely are making purposeful decisions as to like, oh, okay, well maybe this lends itself better than this, or like I don't think this kind of works with this, you know what I mean? And so those types of decisions are really what we're making. But that's it. Like nothing, like Liz said, nothing like major. No.
And thank God for that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we will modify and we'll do an explicit teach here or there based off of the data from the mastery checks. So something that we learned from one of the monthly night calls. So we will, after the mastery checks, grade them up and then do small group based on the data from the mastery checks. And then we will, if we see that there's an overwhelming need in one area, have an explicit teach after a warm up to address that need.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that there's still autonomy on your part. Like, yes, the resources are there. And it all depends on like your student relationship, your student capabilities, the task and the skills that y'all are teaching to determine whether you're going to do a warm up, an inquiry, and like needing to modify anything, right? So I really love this piece too of like, yes, the resources are there, but it doesn't mean that you don't go through them, right? Like you still have to look at it with your own set of eyes, with your own set of knowledge about your students, and then it also provides options. So it's not like you got to do all of these things, but like here are the things that you could pull from to make it more, like you said, Amber, purposeful, really that intentionality behind it and not just like doing all the things just because it's there, right? So thank you for that. And I really love this like explicit instruction too, because there's a misconception sometimes when it comes to self-pacing that there's no whole group instruction happening. And that's not the case at all too, right? So if you have your mastery checks, you look at data and you see like 75, 80% of your students, there was some mistake. of course, you're going to pull a whole group to have that conversation so that students know like, hey, there are very similar mistakes that are happening. So let's talk about it. Let's have those conversations.
Hey there, listeners. This is Zach. I have a couple of announcements for you this week. You can join the Modern Classrooms Project on June 23rd for the Leadership Collaborative Summit 2026, a free virtual event for K-12 school and district leaders. This year's theme is personalized by design, and it's built around a core belief. Every student learns differently, and the best learning communities are built to act on that. You'll hear from principals, district leaders, and coaches from across the country who are making instruction more human through mastery-based, student-centered approaches and getting real results. Every session is led by practitioners and designed to give you strategies you can act on this fall. You can help us to spread the Modern Classrooms model. Refer a friend and earn swag. Know a colleague or school leader who would love our summer learning opportunities? Fill out the form linked in the show notes, and MCP will take it from there. They'll reach out to them with information on the model and with their exclusive discount code. So again, all that info and more links are in the show notes. But for now, let's get back into it with TR, Amber, and Liz.
Let's talk about small group. How does that work for y'all in your class?
We've come up with a pretty good system. It took us a while to get there, but we've come up with a pretty good system. Thank God for trial and error. That's literally what it's been this whole year. And like Liz said, we will do it based on the mastery checks. So we do this thing called Mastery Monday, like Liz mentioned. We got it from one of the other teachers on one of those monthly calls. And so basically, let's say you qualify for lessons 5, 6, 7 on Monday, and you take all of them. We've graded them, and we're ready to get back to you by Wednesday the latest. And so Wednesday, we'll start pulling small groups. And in that poll, what we're doing is, okay, here's all the kids who made a mistake on lesson 5. We're going to go over that together, step by step together. That's if this is the first time that they're taking the mastery. If it's the second time that they're taking the mastery, then we're going to use that as like a test corrections opportunity, right? Because now you've already had the opportunity to go over it. Like now this is your second time around. Now you got to pull in a little bit more weight. Like you need to put in a little bit more effort. And then we're also now trying to incorporate one-on-one check-ins. So we're trying to do that. So maybe while Liz is doing a small group based on, whatever those lessons are, I may be pulling the kids one-on-one. And then we eventually want to evolve into doing small groups more so like anticipating where a kid might struggle or like specific groups of kids might struggle with something. And then like incorporating that. That's a next year goal though, that is very ambitious. I think we've done a lot this year, and we've worked through a lot of the kinks this year, but obviously there's always room to grow. So.
Yeah, because the small groups, we get a lot of questions about the small groups, right? And again, it's also like you could do small groups really well, or you can do them not so well. And so I'm hearing that there's a purpose for the small groups. It's not that each small group is going to get the same instruction. It's like, no, you got number 5 wrong. So we're all going to be in the small group and have a conversation. Or, hey, this is now your second time trying. So now you're going to be pulled in this group. So really, it's very much a personalized small group instruction that's happening so that students are getting the things that they actually need, as opposed to it just being like a repeated lesson for every single small group. So thank you. Thank you for that. And I also, again, love that you both are leaning on each other to be like, hey, Liz is doing this, so maybe I can do this, right? Or like maybe I'm doing this, so then Liz can do this. I love that as well. And so, I know we have a couple of minutes left, but I'd love to talk about this mentor-mentee relationship piece. I guess this is just a way to kind of rave on your work with Kim. How has that been for both of you throughout the school year? Because I know you've had coaching calls with her throughout the school year.
It's been very helpful to have the calls because this was our first year. We did have questions that came up, and it was really nice to have her to lean on. And also, as we were trying to implement everything, because we literally just jumped in, there were certain strategies that we didn't have that we needed. So as we shared what was troubling us or bothering us about the process in the classroom, she was able to share with us strategies to help or practices that could help fix the need that we saw. So that was super helpful to have those calls with Kim and to be able to email her And she shared resources with us as our needs came up, and it was very helpful to know that she was there. So if we needed to reach out to her, even if it wasn't during a call, we would email and she would respond. So it was helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
And I love that that relationship piece as well, right? Like making sure that you, like Amber and Liz, you have each other. And then if you're both like stumped and like no ideas are coming up, then you have that other that thought partner as well of like, Kim, hey, we need a little bit of help on this.
Yeah. And the other layer, like a little bit past the coaching, was those monthly meetings. Like I know that not everybody in the cohort took advantage of them, but we definitely did. And we learned a lot, like logging into the calls. Like we learned about the Mastery Monday. There was a whole call just on small group. And even if we couldn't sit in on the entire call, just being there for part of the call, we always came away with something. So that was super helpful because the Mastery Monday did change what we were doing. It felt kind of, I don't know for you, like I don't want to put words in your mouth. It felt very chaotic for me, letting go of everything all at once. You're on this, you're on this, you're on this. And then everybody, every day, I need this mastery check and I need this. And it was like, I felt like we were putting fires out. And so the Mastery Monday thing allowed us to have a little bit more structure, so that it didn't feel that crazy on the inside for us. And I hope it feels better for the kids, but now it feels very calm in here. She's very good about setting like timers up with like relaxing music. And yeah, it's like a really nice vibe in here.
And that's like a math class in high school. So that is like amazing, right? That is a whole vibe out there. That's really great. The monthly calls, do both of y'all attend or do you tag team, or is it just like, no, let's be in the same space together so that we can have conversations after?
We both attend, yeah.
And if one of us is on and the other one isn't on yet, we'll text each other, hop on the call.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Because then there's that accountability piece as well, right? Like, hey, let's show up together. Let's have conversations together so that we can continue improving our teaching and learning experience for ourselves and our students. So I love that. Okay. So any other parting words for our listeners, maybe tips and tricks, advice for co-teachers on how to, I don't know, have a respectful relationship, that trusting relationship, how to implement a quote unquote, like newish model, right? Like a different model anyway. Like, do you have any other parting words?
You just have to dive in. You just have to dive in, because if it weren't for her, I would have done it piecemeal and it wouldn't have been as effective. Really. You have to just buy into the model and just jump in and then stick with it. And MCP will hold you. You know what I mean? They held us all year, and the resources are there for us. We look out for each other, but like, if you're willing to try something different and you are willing to ask for help when you need it, you will get the help you need.
I think just show up authentically as yourself. In a co-teaching relationship, you have to just be yourself. And then you have to like leave space for someone else to be themselves and like accept that. And I think that's super important.
Yeah, we're not falling in love with potential out here, y'all. We are embracing people as they show up. That is students, adults, families, everyone, right? Well, thank you both so much. I know this is your planning period or like your free period anyway. So thank you for joining me to share your stories. I really appreciate you both. And I know that we're going to continue hearing great things from both of you. And I know that we're going to be highlighting your classroom as well so that our listeners can have visual representation, or at least visual aids to see what your classroom looks like. So again, thank you both for being so open to sharing all of the things, and I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening. Listeners, remember you can always email us at podcast@modernclassrooms.org, and you can find the links to topics and tools we discussed, as well as more info on this week's announcements and events, in the show notes for this episode at podcast.modernclassrooms.org. We'll have this episode's recap and transcript uploaded to the Modern Classrooms blog on Friday, so be sure to check there or check back in the show notes for this episode if you'd like to access those. And if you enjoy our podcast and it's been helpful in supporting you to create a blended, self-paced, mastery-based learning environment, we would love if you could leave a review. That does help other folks find our podcast. And of course, you can always learn the essentials of our model, if you want to go beyond the podcast, through our free course at learn.modernclassrooms.org. And you can follow us on social media at Modern Class Proj. That's Proj. We are so appreciative of all the hard work you do for students and schools. Have a great week, and we'll be back next Sunday with another episode of the Modern Classrooms Project podcast.